Why is this an option?
Grace, back again so soon. Did you find Medusa after all? You've been on my mind ever since you told me about her.
I did, and it was fine. I told you it would be.
We should tell him what we told her.
Okay, it almost wasn't fine, but it worked out. Nobody got hurt.
I see. Perhaps you'd best tell me what happened then.
Yeah, we kind of used you as a bargaining
That
chip.
sounds like quite the harrowing experience. One that could have gone very poorly indeed.
I know, but let's focus on the important part of the story.
Which is that Medusa seems to have been cleared. And that brings us back to Pan. Have you confronted him about it?
Yep.
He admitted to selling out Calliope, but not to killing her. I don't know if I can believe him.
I've never thought of Pan as a liar so much as a manipulator. Still, he would do anything to protect himself. I'll have to give this some thought. I did tell you we could discuss your memories and the Eidolon more in depth after the party. Did you have any questions, or...?
How many times have you died? Can I ask that?
No. We call it passing on, meeting the Eidolon, and it's fine. I've passed on 12 times that I can recall.
So your name isn't really Apollo?
Most recently it was Lucas. Everyone Lucas ever knew is gone, however, so these days I prefer Apollo again.
Lucas? Seems weird to think of you as a Lucas.
It was weird for him, too. Much like yourself, Lucas becoming Apollo was somewhat of a surprise.
Sounds like there's a story there.
Let's ask
When
this
all these
first.
memories start to return, will I feel different?
Well, let's see. It starts as dreams you'll have of places you've never been, people you've never met. Fleeting images, feelings. Then they'll appear while you're awake. You'll be eating breakfast and suddenly recall when you last ate something similar in the 17th century. The only difficult part is that eventually it can be hard to differentiate between your life and all those other lives. They blend together.
It does sound confusing.
A little, yeah. And not all the memories will be good ones. It can take time to process.
You said it becomes hard to differentiate your life from the others. How hard, exactly? It'll still be me, right?
Grace, would you say that who you are is at least in part due to your experiences?
I guess so, sure.
Well, you'll have a lot more experiences. They won't feel like someone else's either. It will feel like you did all those things. They will shape who you are now, just as they shaped Calliope and all those who came before her. The good news is, you won't get all the memories. Each time we pass on, the older
Is that
memories
what
fade.
Aphrodite's hoping for? Like, is that what Aphrodite was hoping for? That she'd move so far forward that those memories would fade? That would make sense, right? That she was eventually hoping to reach the point where those memories had faded and she wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. But then she's going through people so quickly as like the memories come back that I feel like it'd take longer because there aren't as many memories almost. Because presumably the only memories that get recorded are like the memories that occur after getting the Eidolon. Presumably. Like in it, those are the only memories that are recorded. So like, Grace meeting Calliope won't be there from Grace's perspective, only from Calliope's perspective, because otherwise you can get these like weird meshing memories that I feel like are a little weird over time. Like, obviously, if you're still that person, then, like, Grace will get the memories from two perspectives because she already has them type deal. But, like, in future, you suddenly have those memories from two perspectives, which is a little weird. So, presumably, it's only recorded from, like, Calliope's perspective. But all of this that's happened in the game since she got the Eidolon, it theoretically is. Yeah. I don't know. I'm guessing there's lore here that I don't know about really. Maybe it gets touched on. There's also DLC. Maybe it gets touched on there. I don't know. I don't know how this game plays out. I went into it completely blind, and I'm just rambling on despite the fact that we're nearly at 2.5 hours of stream, and I'm probably gonna end once we reach the next chapter. Because presumably once we head back to our house, there might be a quick sum up with Freddy, and then it'll probably be the next chapter, presumably. If not, then I'll end anyway. But yeah, I do want to go through all of this first, though.
Wait, how is it good that old memories start to fade?
We're many thousands of years old, Grace. If all of those memories returned with perfect clarity, you'd drown in them.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean you've all forgotten so much?
Tell me, how much do you remember from when you were a small child?
Nothing.
Bits and pieces, I guess. Not much.
It's the same for us. The further I try to think back, the more blurry it becomes. I remember the important bits, but little else.
Then maybe it wouldn't work.
Some of the really old memories. There's so many mortal stories that get mixed up with them. Things my previous selves learned as legends. It becomes hard to tell. It takes time, Grace. You'll remember all the lives you've led, but at a pace you can handle. And nothing more.
Okay. So, he's like, okay, but I remember the important bits. Strong memories will do that type deal. So I guess it probably, maybe Aphrodite was hoping for that. But it was probably unlikely to happen then. Because it's like a trauma thing, and she's honestly probably got PTSD going on. And I feel like, if you keep forgetting it, you're not really working through it. And since it's such a prominent memory, it's probably not one of those ones that'll fade. At least not without going through, hundreds of Eidolon passes, if that makes sense. Okay, now you can tell me about Lucas. Now that I've stopped rambling.
Or is it how you became Apollo?
Apollo had taken to surfing. He left the city without permission and roamed the coast looking for... Well, I'm not sure now. Whatever it was, he found it one night when a giant wave took him down. He was drowning, and I thought, this is finally it. But it wasn't. Lucas saw Apollo struggling and swam out to save him. He pulled us ashore, but it was too late. It took a long time to realize what happened. I didn't return to the city until years later. By then, everyone thought I was Apollo's chosen successor.
So no trial for you, huh?
It wasn't easy at first, without memories or anyone to guide me, but no, nothing like that.
That's a question.
What would have happened if Lucas hadn't tried to rescue you? What if no one was there when you...
When I died, then the Eidolon of Apollo's line would have ended forever, I think.
You think?
There have been stories about Eidolons that survive for a time and go wandering. That's probably all they are, though. Stories. It's not something we've had much opportunity to study, but normally death without passing on is how an idol really dies. Forever.
Okay,
It's a lot to consider.
that makes sense.
Assuming I'll even have time to worry about it, what with the trial coming.
Hopefully this eases whatever concerns you might have had. Anything else you'd like to discuss while you're here?
We've already had a lot of these discussions with
Tell me
Freddy,
more
but I
about
guess he knows
Calliope.
more about like the
You and her were good friends,
non-story
right?
stuff.
For centuries, we were far more. I was the god of the arts, and the muses were my constant companions. We went everywhere together. They had many names, but the three most common were Cleo, Talia, and Calliope. The Sisters of Beauty, I called them, though they weren't always women.
I never thought of that. Do idols change gender a lot?
Most of us seek out inheritors who are like us, I suppose, but not all. Calliope, in fact, was a man in her previous incarnation. Kristoff, I think his name was. A poet Calliope adored. I was surprised when she made him a muse.
Who did Calliope become after that poet, Kristoff?
You have to realize we're already into the period where Calliope and I weren't really speaking. She showed up one day in her new form, the one you met. An opera singer whose name she never revealed. We fought, as I recall. I told her she couldn't pass on every time she met an artist she fell in love with. Eventually she'd forget everything about who we were and where we came from. She said she'd rather forget than wallow in old memories like I or the other idols were doing. It was time to wake up and make the best of our situation. Calliope was an idealist without compromise. Always. She hated what we'd become. What I'd become. She wasn't wrong.
From how you describe it, you and Calliope fought a lot.
He
As
keeps
often as we
cutting
saw
off,
each
and I
other.
don't know why.
Which became less and less as time wore on. However, she fought with everyone. Calliope hated the idols being kept secret. She and Athena would get into screaming matches over the rules, and it got so I could no longer protect her. She moved out of Olympus years ago and kept to herself. I just assumed she was wrapped up with some new artist when I got the news.
Do you regret not making up with her?
Every day I think about our last conversation and what I should have said or done differently. The problem with immortality is that you think you have all the time in the world.
It wasn't only fighting with Calliope, right? Surely there were good things too.
Is that how it sounds? Oh, she was marvelous. A force to be reckoned with if there ever was one. In the darkest days during the war, it was her songs that gave us hope. She kept Aphrodite alive through sheer determination, I think. Calliope cared. About us, about art, about people she'd only just met. It was her greatest strength as well as her greatest weakness.
I wonder why she picked me. I don't feel like I'm any of those things.
You underestimate yourself, Grace. I see a lot of her in you. She chose well.
What happened to the other muses? You mentioned 2 others. Were they lost in the war?
Cleo perished centuries before. The victim of an obsessed writer she'd spurned. He kept her in a cage as his personal muse.
Ugh, that's pretty dark.
It was. By the time we found her, she was already... Well, that's enough to say her captor didn't survive her for long. Talia, however, was lost to us on the very last day of the war.
Aww.
We were about to leave on the ship, but she just... never showed up.
Do you know what happened to her?
We never found out. I worried for years, even hired people to look, but as far as I can tell, she up and vanished into smoke that day. The war had ground her down. I was upset, but Not surprised.
I'd like to know a little more about you. All I know is you live in a dump, you have an oracle, and you...
I'm not sure what to tell you. One day has bled into the next for so long I feel like I've been lost in the spaces in between.
Wow, that's a bit dramatic.
Yeah, well, it comes naturally. Music and the arts were once under my purview as a guy.
How did that get decided? Did you have a big hat full of pieces of paper and you all picked at random?
No, we chose them for ourselves. Some, at least. Others were given to us by our priests. We collected godly responsibilities like marbles.
People collect marbles?
Oh, whatever it is mortals collect these days. Cars, perhaps? The point is, we took our godly duties very seriously.
You must have been very different back when you were a proper god.
I think most of us were. We saw ourselves as, I don't know, teachers. Mortals were our students, and we guided them to enlightenment. We thought we were special, infallible. I was as magnificent as the sun, and I surrounded myself with those who basked in my radiance.
That doesn't sound like you.
Oh, it doesn't.
I was arrogant. If there was a man or woman I desired, then I had to have them, or there would be consequences. You wouldn't have liked me. I wouldn't have liked me.
So what is Persephone's beef with you exactly? Is it just about
God
what
damn
Hades
it,
did to her?
Lorax. I'll take
That's
the
no
shark one.
small
I'll
thing.
take the shark one.
It seems more personal than that.
I mentioned how Persephone's kidnapping almost meant war between Olympus and Hades, yes? Well, while this was all going on, Persephone managed to escape the underworld, and I'm the one she encountered first.
Uh-oh.
Hades was hot on her heels, and I had a choice. Either do battle with Hades and start the war right then and there, or let him take her back. Zeus would have had my head if I had sparked a war.
There was no good
Yet all I still
choice.
think of are Persephone's eyes as Hades smugly took back his prisoner. It's not my finest moment.
Have you ever tried therapy?
Apollo, have you ever tried, I don't know, talking to someone about how you feel?
I will never understand this modern fascination with therapy and focusing on one's feelings.
It might help. You never know.
Yes, I've tried it. There was one I used to speak to. Hecate enchanted him never to reveal what I told him. I don't know that unburdening myself to the man helped. He wasn't exactly trained for this sort of problem.
It is kind of hard to relate to a god, sure.
I do appreciate the thought. But I'm afraid muddling through is as good as it gets for us.
I'd like to know a little more about the idols. I am one now, right?
You are. What would you like to know?
Well, what are we? Where did we come from? If an idol is a soul that moves from person to person, it must have started somewhere, right?
The short answer is, we don't know.
Probably
I
faded
think
too
far
much,
enough
right?
back I can remember bits and pieces. I remember my first Pythian games, the day the idols split in two over Troy, the day my first son died. But before that, nothing. None of us do. I vaguely recall the very first Apollo many thousands of years ago, but was he the original? Did he appear out of the ether? I couldn't tell you.
Sure, we'll keep
Isn't it
pressing.
strange to not know where you come from? For all you know, the idols could be aliens.
Interesting. The notion that there might be some other place far away where we're the norms, comforting. Sadly, our memories are filled with blanks. There was a war with beings we called the Titans. Terrible conflict where half our number died, yet do I remember a single battle. The last was after Rome fell. Zeus called us together to relay the news, told us to prepare for battle. And then, in the blink of an eye, I was in the 16th century. What made us forget 1,000 years? What happened during that time? We don't know. Athena calls that period the gap.
I love it. It's like, tell me more about this gap. When he doesn't remember,
gap
I'm gonna
you mentioned.
ask, but
What was that like? Did you just wake
oh,
up
it's
one
like,
day,
okay,
or
cool.
I know I was alive. I passed on my eidolon who knows how many times, yet the moment I woke up, as you call it, all memory of that period was gone. It was Athena who found us. I was in France, I think. She came to my farm, and the moment I laid eyes on her, I just knew. It all came back. Did someone do that to us? Did we scatter to the winds for 1,000 years on purpose? It's a mystery.
what about Athena? I mean, she's the one who found you, right? She must have been aware.
Athena claims she awoke on her own and spent the next century locating the other idols. We've pieced together very little of the gap or of our origins. We simply live with it. Gods we may be, but I'm afraid we don't have all the answers.
Earlier
I
you
wondered
mentioned
about
your
that.
son dying. Did I hear that right? Can idols have children?
It was rare, but yes. Back in ancient times, some of them even became idols themselves.
Some of the idols are actually family then.
Not anymore.
Oh,
Most of our children met terrible ends. A gift of the fates, perhaps. I don't know. The ones who weren't idols. It's hard watching your children grow old and die. Never understanding why they can't have the same immortality you do. Why you can't grant it to them. My first son is why I'm not permitted in Hades any longer. Let's simply say that most idols have stopped having children, and maybe leave it at that.
Tell me more about the war.
we're just gonna find out all the
Seems to have
info
had a
today.
huge effect on all of you.
I don't think we would have left the old world otherwise. It was home.
From Aphrodite's song, I know Ares betrayed everyone. What did you do?
I caused it. I foresaw what was going to happen, so I tried to prevent it. I told Ares.
Oh,
I figured if the god of war couldn't stop what was to come, then
And that's why he betrayed everyone.
he decided the idols were a lost cause. Because I told him we were.
it could have happened.
Surely it could have
anyway.
happened anyhow. It was a big war. The biggest.
Perhaps. We'll never know, will we?
No.
My time afterwards was spent helping the survivors, keeping us on the move. If Hephaestus hadn't intervened, we would have all been captured.
And he's...
Oh, gone now, we assume, like so many others. We are nothing more than refugees from a war long over, Grace.
Was it hard for the idols to come to the new world? It's just a place like any other, isn't it?
I don't think it was the place so much as the condition we were in. Shell-shocked, one might say. Our entire world had been turned upside down. Suddenly, we had rules. Secrecy was paramount, and no one was permitted to leave the city. Some, like my sister Artemis, couldn't abide it.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Goddess of the hunt. and a wild thing herself. She left, I think. Faded away without a word. As many did in the early days here. Later, Athena became even more strict. For our own good, of course, but it hasn't been easy. This city has never felt like home, so much as a temporary shelter.
That's all I can
Well,
think of
we've
for
gone
now.
through all the info.
I'll see you around.
Of course. I look forward to it.
Okay. Head back home. Oh,
Oh,
hi.
hi, Grace. I can just call you Grace, right?
That's my name. Where's Freddy?
She went out to get snacks. We were gonna watch TV while we waited, but, well, here you are.
Were you looking
Waited.
for me?
Were you looking for me?
All over, yeah. Athena sent me to find you, but it wasn't easy. Yeah, you must have been busy.
Yeah, because I stand trial soon.
Right. Right, that makes sense. Anyway, I guess Athena wants to talk? I can zip us over to Olympus anytime, if you're free.
Is this
So
what you do?
this is what you do? Ferry people around?
I'm the god of messengers, baby. Travelers, doorways, any kind of transition, really. The old Hermes said that the transition part made even more sense for me, which, you know, extra cool, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I can connect any two doorways anywhere, just like that. So it's super easy to take people wherever. I don't mind.
You mentioned the
okay?
old Hermes a lot. You knew him?
Yeah, I was homeless for a while. It wasn't a great time, and he took me in. Everyone's on the same journey, he used to say. Only the roads are different. And then he went on his journey. Man, I still miss him every day.
Oh,
Wait, isn't he still inside you? Aren't you kind of the same person now?
Not yet. It's only been a year. Maybe I'll feel him again one day. That'd be nice.
let's go.
I suppose there's no point in putting it off. Do your thing. Take me to Olympus.
Okay. Oh, when you see Freddy, tell her I'm sorry I couldn't stick around for the movie. And mind if I say something?
Hmm?
Sure.
You've changed. I mean, from the person I met when I first came here. When, you know, you got it together really quick.
Kinda had to.
Thanks, I guess.